Hi, welcome back to the channel. This week we're going to create some, well, let's call it controlled random grid synths. And to explain that potentially somewhat contradictory term, we're going to generate the MIDI randomly, but then we're going to lock it, so it's not constantly random. And first we're going to do this in Ableton, and then we'll switch over and do it in Cubase. So for this, I just have a basic project opened. In fact, this is my track from scratch project, just so I have some sound looping that sounds like this. So first up, let's create a MIDI track. That's this purple one here, completely blank other than a 2-bar loop. In fact, we can even make this 1 for now. Now the first thing we're going to do is add my Randunca device. And this is free. Most of you probably already have it, but if not, I'll leave a link in the description so you can go and grab it. As I said, it's completely free. Then we will add a instrument rack. And now we'll start adding some leads in there. So we'll use Vital for that. And then for the first one, I'm just going to use some presets from my pack. This isn't a sound design video, so let's just use presets for this. Let's go with Spiral Down for the first one. Sounds like so. Let's just solo this track. Sounds horrible, obviously. That's because we've not done anything with Randunca. And for those who are not familiar with it, essentially it is a little sequencer, so we can randomize velocity, length, or steps. So let's randomize velocity and note length. And we have some kind of a pattern going already. Now the next step is to duplicate and then duplicate again. So now we have 3 instances of Vital in our MIDI rack. For the second one, let's choose a different sound. This one, I think just completely at random. This one here, Driving Miss Daisy. Good. And then for the third one, I already know what sound I want. That is in the Atmos section, and it is, if I sort by name, it is called That Forest Sound, which, as the name implies, you already know it. It's that one. So let's play this back, and once again it will sound horrible. And that's because everything is playing simultaneously and over the top of each other. But now this is where the trick comes in. Let's expand out the velocity section, and then we'll right click and then do distribute ranges equally. So now the first Vital is playing only up to velocity 40. The second Vital is playing velocities 42 or 44 odd, up to 84 it looks like. And then the third Vital is playing from, what is it, around 85 up to 127. So now you've probably already guessed what's going to happen. Because we have the velocity randomized, it's going to randomly select which of these Vital instances play. Or just to give you a demonstration of that, I have all these down at 0. That's the current step, so it doesn't appear to be 0, but it is. And when I play this back, it will only play the first instance of Vital, and you'll see the little activity indicator popping up here. But then for the second half of the bar, let's make it play the third sound. Perfect. I think we still have some delay on these, so let's get rid of that. Also on the second one, I have some delay and reverb. And once again on the third, let's get rid of that. And instead, let's send it to the, well, we already have it sent to the sends, so good. And now this is where the fun comes in. Let's randomize that, and it's going to do an automated grid pattern for us. But like I said right at the start, it is fixed. So once we randomize, then the pattern is fixed. Let's maybe have those little foresty things right at the end, but they're not at the start, so we can manually draw them in. Let's randomize the note length again. Let's go up to our clip and we'll expand this to 2 bars, hit legato to extend that, and then we'll increase the loop length to 32 steps. And let's do randomize on all now. Bit of kick and bass. Let's put it back on every step. Pretty cool, I think. And obviously it goes without saying that because it's only playing one sound at a time, we don't get any sounds layering up on top of each other. So it should really, as long as your envelopes are under control, then you shouldn't really have any duplication of sound. And obviously, should you wish for this pattern to change for a different section of the track, then you can just duplicate the entire track itself, create another random pattern, and sequence it accordingly. So there you go. So if you're on Ableton, I hope that helped. And now let's move over to Cubase. And obviously I can't use my Randunca device in here, so instead we need to do some Midi routing trickery. So here we have basically just a blank project. There's nothing special if I just want to mess around with something. This is my kind of template project for that. Just a kick and bass and a bit of percussion. Let's loop 1 bar. And then we're going to add an instrument track. Vital, make sure it's on the lead bus, that's good. Let's call this Vital 1. And then we'll duplicate and duplicate Vital 2, Vital 3. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we had Spiral Down was one of them. The next one was Driving Miss Hazy, I think. And then the third one was that kind of virusy comb sound, which is this one. Let's now add a MIDI track. That will do. Let's take it so not connected. And we'll call this Gate Trigger. We're in E, so let's draw in a series of 16ths just on E. And when we play it back, there's no sound yet because we've not routed it anywhere. In fact, we took the routing off. So here is where the MIDI trickery comes. In Cubase, we have MIDI inserts and also MIDI sends. And I'm on the MIDI track here. I'm not on the Vital inserts, I'm on the MIDI track that we created. In fact, let's make this one red so you know which one I'm looking at. And in the MIDI sends section, you might need to activate this if it's not already in your menu. Just to do that, right click and then set up sections, and then you can include or exclude what you want. So here, MIDI sends is the one we need. And for the first one, we're going to send this to plugins, which is the first Vital. Then we're going to send to the second Vital and then the third Vital. Make sure we turn these on, obviously. And then when I play this back, there'll just be a cacophony of sound, which is obviously not what we want. But the first thing, actually, let's go back and turn off our effects on all the sounds. Now what we need to do is, at the top here, we have these MIDI effects. So let's go into MIDI modifier, and let's add a MIDI modifier to all of these. And then the first one, we need to go over to the right here, and in range, we do velocity filter. So the maximum value, let's do 40. So now the minimum is 1, the maximum is 41. We'll do the same for the second one. This one, the maximum is going to be 80 and the minimum is 41. So essentially it takes over from where the previous one. And then on the final one, let's, once again, velocity filter, maximum, let's actually just go to 120. And then the minimum value is 81. So just to recap that, for number 1, we have 1 through to 40. Second one, we have 41 through to 80. And then the third one, we have 81 through to 120. Now obviously velocity goes to 127, so we have 7 that aren't assigned, but that's fine, that will actually work to our benefit because anything that triggers in that range will basically trigger nothing. So it's kind of like an enforced mute, if you will. Now let's have a look at the MIDI, and we currently have everything playing at 100. So now, if you're following along, you should already know what's going to happen. Because everything's at 100, it's only going to play out of Vital 3, because that has the range 81 to 120. Bingo. Now if we randomize the velocity, and I'll show you how to do this in a sec. I've also randomized the note length with the same key, and now when I play this back, boom, we have our grid synths. Make that 4 bars. Lose that, and we'll randomize again. And then obviously you can get more precise with it. So we know that the first one is the range from 0 to 40, and that's that kind of like high belly forest sound. So let's say, for example, we just want that to be towards the end, and we'll give it a bit of randomization in that, but it's still going to be less than 40 for the second half of that bar. And also let's bring these ones up for the first half. So now we're going to play 2 of the other sounds for the first half, and then only the upper chirpy forest sound towards the end. And I think I've done that the wrong way around. Sorry. Or here, let's give a bit of FM in these two, and maybe some of that forest sound here and here. So you get my point, you can adjust that at will. I've covered off the velocity randomization in a previous video. So to set that up, you go up to MIDI, Logical Editor, Setup, and mine's already selected, but just to be sure, this one here, Randomize Velocity. So the type is equal to note, and then value 2 sets a random value between 0 and 127. And then once you've done that, you can then go into Edit and then Key Commands. See here we have Randomize Velocity, and you can see there I've set up a key command Shift V to do that. And just to play that back once again, because I quite liked it. So there we are. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back soon with something else. We'll see you then. Bye.